Before we get into all the other news today, I just wanted to point out that in those dying days of the USSR, you couldn't find a think tanker or a professor outside the USSR, within the USSR, that was predicting a Soviet collapse. No one that was taken seriously at a large international level. And really, we have the same thing happening now, despite this new, quote, democratization of information. And this YouTube channel that I'm doing now, it's been around for, I guess, 5 weeks. And I've just been piling on report after report after report, economic statistic, and still there is a reluctance to absorb this information in an open way, to put it together in a larger scheme that clearly shows the direction that Russia is headed. Example, these refineries they're taking out, that the Ukrainians are taking out. This is happening, okay, so not only do we have these fuel lines all across the nation, but this is happening during harvest season. Harvests, a whole other issue, down from 25% to 56%, depending upon region. Why is it that when it's Russia, if it's Moscow, why is it that the West just can't accept the fact that it's 100% going down? It's going to be another civilizational collapse. Russia is a prison of nations. All these nations will eventually be free, just like Czech Republic and Poland and Hungary and the individual republics of Yugoslavia. They all became free at some point. In a sense, it's merely history that is repeating itself. Look at this dog. It happens again, and it's clear what's happening, but we just can't accept it. Why is that? So I'll just keep pouring on the information here. It's not only the West that is utilizing the long and well-worn strategy of denialism and obfuscation in order to prolong the inevitable day in which they may actually have to do something about Russia. It is the USSR 2.0 ruling regime itself in Moscow applying USSR 1.0 solutions to USSR 2.0 problems today, well, mixed sort of with a Godfather movie aesthetic. The Russian government today scheduling an emergency meeting of the biggest oil companies in order to come up with a solution for the fuel crisis that is now enveloping the entirety of the Russian Federation. They're probably going to meet in the back of an Italian restaurant or Don Amici's, olive oil distributorship. It's not exactly USSR 2.0. It's definitely some mafia characteristics there. Okay, so why is it happening? Because Ukraine continues destroying the Russian refineries, and the Russian government still isn't admitting it. They keep saying that it's maintenance issues. And meanwhile, even Russian social media is now flooded with videos like this. This refinery has been burning for 3 days. You can see it from satellite. So fires at Russia's Novoshaktinsk continue to spread into the third day, now expanding to new storage tanks. Russia's firefighting abilities now on par with their air defenses. Yes, it's only getting worse and worse for Putin's hellscape. And this is a video from about an hour ago in Russia's Primorsky Krai. Russia's fuel crisis continues to spiral in Primorsky Krai, an 85-car line for petrol as desperate drivers run out of fuel while still queuing. And this line, counted by the driver, is apparently 85 cars long. And many times people get to the end of this line and there is no gas. Worse and worse as it goes, so it goes. More catastrophic gas news all the way in Russia's Far East. You have to understand, this is 13 time zones from Ukraine. 13 time zones from Ukraine. This is about the disparity now between the price in Moscow and the price now in the Far East. The outer regions of Russia are getting it the worst. And you have to understand now that to fill up your tank in Russia is now the same that you pay in the United States. It's around $4 a gallon now. 60 rubles in, this is per liter, 60 rubles, there's 3.97 liters in a gallon for reference. 60 rubles in Moscow, 80 rubles in the Far East. This is Vladivostok. You understand, this is over by Japan. This is, I mean, it's an absolutely huge country, which Ukraine is now using to Russia's detriment. So it's only getting worse. You've got gas lines. This is just more gas lines. The audio on these is really loud, so I'm not going to play it. More gas lines. This is the price. This is 99 rubles. You can go ahead and do the gas. You can go ahead and do the math on this. So there's 80 rubles in a dollar, and for 1 liter is 99 rubles for premium gasoline, as you can see. So it's 100 rubles. So go ahead and multiply that times 3.97, and you've got your price. It's over $4 a gallon. And you have to understand that in Russia, median salary is only 20% that of the United States. Okay, so this is the problem now facing Russians. It's going to cost to fill up their tank. It's going to be about 20% of their salary in order just to fill the tank up once. So say you're like a truck driver or something, that a taxi driver. Anyway, it's getting worse and worse. This is a tweet from Stratcom. Russia's gasoline crisis continues to spiral with many stations now completely out of fuel. Russia's military is now bleeding the economy dry, even while refineries vanish. This is just some, it's a gas station showing that they have no gasoline at any price. This is 92 octane, no gas. 95 octane, no gas. And yeah, it's only getting worse and worse. Here's more videos. Videos on the spiraling gasoline crisis are flooding Russian social media today as prices at service stations are changed on a near hourly basis to reflect worsening shortages. Authorities attempt to calm the population. Yeah, I don't have to play these. They were kind of loud for some reason. I'll try to kill the audio. Okay, there it is. Here's the prices, 88 rubles. So that is well over $4 a gallon in a country where the median salary is about $480. So you can fill up your tank. And in these regions like Buryatia and stuff, you have to understand that, you know, median salary can be as low as $140 a month. So the possibility of even filling a tank is impossible. So you have to understand what this crisis really means. And it's not being covered in Western media at all. And then when they collapse, I'm like, oh my God, the USSR collapsed. USSR 2.0, we had such high hopes. I thought Putin was he's not wearing a shirt and he's on a horse. I mean, how could he let this happen? Anyway, here's a really good analysis, though, on the whole thing. This is from about 2 hours ago. Gerashenko, one of our local commentators here in Kyiv, I'll read the whole thing to you. I'll read the whole thing, but if you want to fast forward, do so. But it's probably the most informative thread on exactly what's going on from the Russian perspective regarding this fuel crisis. I've decided to translate for you. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Tensions in Russia's fuel market are rising. In Primorye, there are kilometer-long queues at gas stations, and wholesale prices for gasoline and diesel have hit record highs. Officially, the reasons are no longer hidden. So the Russian propaganda machine is finally starting to give up. As they did in the last days of the USSR, they really started to give up, and that's a whole other movie I can do about that. Refineries are shutting down after Ukrainian strikes. During peak summer days, up to 14% of processing capacity was idle. This is also happening during the harvest season. So you have to understand, if you are a Ukrainian farmer right now and you want to bring all of your wheat to market, or your sorghum or your buckwheat or whatever it is, this is one of the core industries of Russia. Pulling junk out of the ground and selling it, that's how Russia survives. That's why Russians are not starving. In 2025, the tactics of Ukrainian strikes have changed. Previously, there were one time a unit would be damaged, the plant would reduce output, but recover within a few weeks. Now attacks are carried out in series and repeated on the same facilities. And it covers a number of cities, refineries that have been hit. This prevents the restoration of primary processing and hydrocracking and catalytic cracking units. For example, after a series of attacks, Ryazan refinery, 5% of Russia's capacity overall, has half its processing halted, while Novokuyabishevsk refinery, 3%, has its primary processing damaged. The largest refinery in southern Russia, Volgograd's Lukoil, as well as the Samara and Syrazan factories, refineries, have completely stopped receiving crude oil. Ukraine is widely using drones with the range of 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers, such as the AQ-400 produced by Firepoint, capable of reaching the Volga region. Simultaneously, drones and maritime drones are targeting export terminals. Attacks on Ust-Luga and Novorossiysk, that's St. Petersburg and southern Russia. So it's wide-ranging, I mean, all the way from St. Petersburg, which is up by Finland, all the way down by like Georgia. Have temporarily halted oil product shipments. Madyar, he's one of our big, Ukraine's big drone guys, reported hitting the Druzhba pipeline. That's one of the main oil transport hubs for Russia. It's the main pipeline that takes oil into Europe, to Belarus, and to the export terminals of St. Petersburg. Druzhba pipeline, which supplies oil from Russia to its historical homeland. So it's not only export, it is Russia itself now being starved of transporting oil. The choice of refineries as targets is explained by their technological vulnerability. Modern Russian refineries were built using equipment from Shell, Axens, UOP, and Haldor Topsoe. Hydrocracking, catalytic reforming, isomerization, and Euro 5 component production. After 2022, deliveries of equipment, software, and catalysts ceased. Catalysts are consumables, replaced every 1 to 3 years. Without Western supplies, Russia relies on old stock or Chinese analogs with inferior performance. So Chinese garbage is basically holding together the remnants of the decaying Russian oil infrastructure behemoth. And now that is being attacked by Ukrainian drones. Hydroprocessing reactors and compressors are manufactured in only a few countries with delivery times up to a year. China can cover only part of the deficit: pumps, heat exchangers, and simple catalysts. However, for complex processes, its technology lags, and replacing Western components with Chinese ones requires restructuring the entire refinery unit. As a result, every Ukrainian strike on a hydrocracking or reforming unit leads to months of downtime. The map of Russian refineries reveals a key strategic problem. The main processing capacities are concentrated in the in the European part of the country, while fuel consumption is rising in the Far East. Fuel logistics chains to eastern regions span thousands of kilometers, creating additional costs and risks. Kilometer-long queues in Primorye are a direct consequence of this imbalance between Western production and Eastern consumption. Large refineries from Kirashi to Volgograd are within reach of Ukrainian drones. The Flamingo missile, if its specifications are confirmed, that's Ukraine's new flashy missile/drone that everyone's looking forward to seeing, can reach Russia's largest refinery in Omsk. And that's like 10% of Russia's overall refining capacity. It's as the range increases, facilities previously considered out of reach are now threatened, creating a scale problem for air defense. Protecting all refineries across the territory from Kaliningrad to the Far East is practically impossible. Consequently, Russia's oil and gas industry, once a source of economic strength, has become a vulnerable spot. So Ukraine is using Russia's size against it in a number of ways. Russia has an Achilles heel, and it's just this industry, but it's the industry on which all other industries rely, as such the example that I just gave you about that all this is happening during the harvest season, right when farmers need cheap fuel, in order to turn a profit. And I can do a whole other episode just on the bankruptcies that are enveloping the Russian agricultural sector. They can't pay for their equipment. They can't pay their loans. They're losing their farms to banks. Russian government has. There's a lot of things like that in every segment of the Russian economy, and it's gotten so bad now that that there's an entire town in Rostov region that is now out of water because all the water is now being reallocated to put out the fires at a local refinery. Residents of Russia's Rostov region no longer have water because it's now being allocated to extinguish the rapidly expanding fires at the oil refinery. This is a refinery that's been burning for 3 days. Thing is, water doesn't douse all the fires. You see, the fires at refineries, they really need this Western-produced foam that Russia's having a very difficult time getting now. It's very expensive. And that's what you use to douse refinery fires, not water. Water can actually make the situation worse. So what Russia's doing, they're just suiciding everything from every angle. So how is the Russian government responding? So the Russian government is now, Russia's official statistics bureau is now managing the spiraling economic situation by writing it out of the public eye, listing the price of gasoline at minus 26% lower than reality. And our local economist friend, Yevgeny Strebin, he digs into this data so we don't have to, from the Russian official statistics bureau, Rosstat. Here is the whole secret of low inflation in Russia. In Russia, they just came out with a new data, and what they're doing is now, you saw my quoted prices, Moscow versus the far regions. They're quoting average gasoline prices now at 63 rubles, which you can't buy gasoline anywhere outside Moscow for 63 rubles. You are looking at anywhere from 80 to 120 rubles now for a liter of gasoline. So things are only getting worse and worse. And it's not only the refineries that Ukraine is hitting. It is the largest oil transport hub in Russia. As you can see here, okay, so here's a map to understand the scale. This is what Ukraine just took out of commission. Last week, they took it out of commission. After 3 days, Russia fixed it. Then they hit it again 2 nights ago. I'll tell you about the political fallout in a second. It's probably the funniest part. So oil comes in from Russia's hellscape through this line here, from all reaches of Putin's disastrous hellscape. It comes here, and then it goes all the way up to the St. Petersburg export terminal at Ust-Luga. It goes over to the hellish kleptocracy of Belarus, where you can't go anywhere in Europe now without meeting a Belarusian that doesn't have a relative or something that has been incommunicado for years in a Belarusian prison. It is an absolute, it's one of the unsung crisis that's really catastrophic situation there. And then it also goes out to the Russian-backed, increasingly kleptocratic regimes of Orban's Hungary and Robert Fico's Bratislava. Two regimes that are entirely Russian-backed, with Budapest now having looted Hungary into its position of being officially the poorest nation in the EU. So Hungary is not happy about it. They've refused to get off Russian oil for the entirety of this war, and now we see the consequences. Ukraine has lost their temper, and whether it's siding with Russia at the UN or blocking Russia sanctions in the EU, Orban is 100% Putin's biatch. Bratislava, same thing, back and forth to Moscow. Russian-backed kleptocrat Robert Fico here in Bratislava, the aspiring Orban. Anyway, so they're sort of getting what they paid for. But this, so what happened was the next day, about 2 hours after they hit it, in Hungary, they realized that they have no more oil, right? So my best buddy here, the foreign minister of Hungary, went to Twitter and said this: last night, the Druzhba pipeline was attacked again for the 3rd time in a short period, cutting off oil deliveries to Hungary. This is a clear attack on our energy security. Right. It's Ukraine attacking the regime that is attempting to genocide it. Cutting off oil deliveries to Hungary. Tisk, tisk. This is a clear attack on our energy security, and another attempt to drag us into the war, even though Hungary's been fully siding and doing everything they can to support Putin's regime. They buy about 200 million in, there's a 400 million in Russian oil every month, as does Slovakia, which directly fuels Russia's war machine, while the rest of Europe has mostly gotten off the stuff. It will not succeed. We stand for peace and our national interest. So our beloved Deputy Foreign Minister from our Deputy Prime Minister, Sikorsky, who is always good for a laugh, came out and responded, "Peter, you have as much solidarity from us as we have from you." Yes. Then the Twitter war continued with the Hungarian foreign minister hitting back, "Believe me, I would never commit the mistake to think about you when it comes to solidarity." Sikorsky again hits back, "We both understand the diplomatic principle of reciprocity. By the way, it looks like the attack on the Russian oil pumping station was a Hungarian job. Bravo for our freedom and yours." He's alluding to the fact that this particular drone strike that took out the Druzhba pipeline, this massive transport hub facility in Russia, it was actually executed by the Robert Magyar, Magyar's Birds Brigade of the Ukrainian unmanned forces. It's a Hungarian guy, and he has been fighting in Ukraine since the beginning. He's got a really good social media game. You can Google him. They post all their videos every day, taking out hundreds and hundreds of Russians. Now they're really focused on taking out oil terminals, and they're better than anyone at this. And the Polish Deputy Prime Minister was apparently made aware of this, and really toucheed this kleptocrat. This Peter, this guy is really a bad guy. Him and I have been in several Twitter wars. He deserves everything he gets. But it's not all good news. We have the Russians 2 days ago specifically targeting the largest American investment in Ukraine. I'll just read it to you. Last night, Russians targeted American assets in Ukraine, striking the American-owned Flex Electronics factory complex in Mukachevo with two caliber missiles. Each of these is about $2 million. They sent it all the way to the other side of Ukraine, about 800 miles from about 800 kilometers from the front line, over 1,000 miles from Russia. Flex employs about 3,500 people in Mukachevo and more than 200,000 worldwide, producing for global brands such as Google, Microsoft, Nike, and Lenovo. Russia wanted this to be a massacre of around 600 people that were on staff at the time. It's an absolutely huge factory at this time. Only 15 people were injured, 2 critically at the time of the strike. Around 600 workers were inside but managed to reach shelters. It's still burning. It's 2 days ago, and it's still there. One of their main products is actually coffee machines. No military objective, a clear strike on American assets in Ukraine. This was a mom and pop operation that opened in 1969 in Silicon Valley. They now do around $25 billion a year in sales. It's an absolutely huge company, and they've been in Ukraine since 2012. And there's absolutely nothing else around this. There was no mistake. It was 2 very precise strikes with 2 caliber missiles. So you would figure that Trump would be all over this. Somebody said, "Oh my God, I can't believe my buddy Putin would do this." So we can safely assume that when the U.S. president heard about this attack on U.S. interests in Ukraine, that he's absolutely furious, and he's going to arm Ukraine. Let's just see what he said, because I'm sure we're in for a treat. Let's see. So, he's actually showing off a picture of himself and Putin at this point.
That's a man named Vladimir Putin, who I believe will be coming, depending on what happens. He may be coming, and he may not.
Oh, he had just invited Putin to the World Cup.
There's a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks, but I thought it was a nice picture of him. Okay, of me, but nice of him.
Okay, so this is so now we get to the part where he really, he goes after Putin, right? Okay.
Have you talked to Vladimir Putin about the fact that he has U.S. factory was hit in a Russian airstrike in Ukraine. What's your
So
reaction?
Trump already knows about it.
I'm not happy about it, and I'm not happy about anything having to do with that war. I settled 7 wars, and actually,
Wait, 7 wars.
think about pre-wars, add 3 more, so it would be 10.
687 wars Trump has solved now.
In terms of difficulty.
Yeah, well, so I guess Trump doesn't care that U.S. interests are now being specifically targeted. Anyone that doesn't understand that Putin directly just spat in the face of the U.S., you know, I can't, I don't know, what else can I sell you? Anyway, so while all this is happening, Russia's preparing, we have Ukraine's Independence Day coming up day after tomorrow, or is it tomorrow? Russia is now planning one of the largest massacres of the war, utilizing every bomber it has as the U.S. is paralyzed behind a mountain of orange lard, unable to even sanction Putin's terrorist state. 11 Tu-95 MS bombers and Tu-160 aircraft concentrated near Ukraine. So if Russia pulls this off, it looks like it'll be one of the largest bombings of the year. It's coming in the next couple days. So here in Kyiv, we will be underground, listening to explosions, wondering how many people are dying above us. There'll be kids that get killed. I mean, that's how this goes every time, because it's not just air-launched missiles. It'll be missiles from air, land, and sea, as it always is. There are people walking around now, living and shopping, that will be dead in a few days as a result of Russian missile strikes. Putin gives him 2 weeks. He gives him 50 days. He gives him 2 weeks. He plans a meeting. This particular time, it looks like Putin sent him a photograph. Trump got excited about it, and now he's giving him another 2 weeks and discussing when he's going to invite him to the World Cup that'll be held in 2026 in the United States. Yeah, well, that's where we are now. So, and all this is happening today. As a reminder, on this day in 1939, Moscow and Nazi Germany signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, a treaty that included a secret protocol for the joint invasion of Europe. Russia's partnership with Berlin only ended when Hitler decided to invade a newly weakened Russia. So World War II was a joint project between Nazi Germany, for those that don't know this yet, between Nazi Germany and Russia. Luckily for Moscow, when Stalin came crawling to the U.S. for rescue, it was granted via Lend-Lease. Between 1941 and 1945, the U.S. sent the Soviets $11.3 billion in aid. It's approximately $180 billion in today's dollars. 400,000 trucks, 14,000 aircraft, 8,000 tractors, 12,000 tanks, 1.75 million tons of food, and other supplies. The Soviet Union did not repay most of this aid. A token settlement was negotiated in 1972 and finalized in 2006. 2 great reset periods, 1972 and 2006, where everyone was trying to make amends and they forgot what Russians really think about us Americans. In Russia, the official narrative claims the war began in 1941. Anywhere you go in Russia, you will see that World War II started in 1941. To say it began anything earlier than that can get you a 7-year prison term. That is the Russian information scape. So not only this, we've got now North Korea. Since Russia is now working with North Korea, their propaganda has completely, I mean, just watch some of that. I'll just play some of this. With Russia now aiding North Korea in propaganda production, nonsense hits new heights as a Russian cargo plane is staged delivering a fresh load of North Korean corpses that failed to survive their meeting with Ukraine's armed forces. And this is really a spectacular bit of propaganda. I mean, they're crying. This is it doesn't get any better than this. But look, there's a whole build-up at the beginning. And this is a Russian plane at the beginning, right? So this is the Russian cargo jet delivering a bunch of Okay, there they are. North Korean GDP is 148 out of 148 countries in the world, by the way. The only thing keeping North Korea afloat is Russian cash for building missile factories and artillery to bomb Ukraine. Yeah. It would be funny if it wasn't so, wow, this is upper level, huh? Oh, here they are. Cut to the theater, and this guy, cry or die. And this guy's thinking about hamburgers. What I would do. But look at the cinematography. I mean, this is straight up all managed 100% by Russian, Chinese propaganda crews. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un's in a hot tub offset with like 12 girls, freshly scooped up from the National Ballet, Pyongyang. Oh, here's actually carrying these stinking corpses of the North Koreans. The smell must be unreal. Lord have mercy. Yeah, it only gets crazier and crazier. This guy here. Okay, that's enough. That is enough. Okay. We have to, as at some point, we have to go ahead and. Okay, so could the West be so naive? Okay, so this is China. So Russia has this idea that the West may be naive enough to allow Chinese quote peacekeepers to come into Ukraine and rip out the resources. Could the West be so naive as to hand the China-Russia war machine all Ukraine's vast resources without first having Russia collapse to do it? As I've said, my theory is that China is using Russia and the fact that they have a maniacal, genocidal dictator to smash up the West, to exhaust itself, and leave China the only strong party, with the West, under China's idea here, theory, leaving the West exhausted and leaving Russia also exhausted, for China to then come in and scoop up all those choice Russian gas fields and 20% of the world's unfrozen water. Yes, that is Russia's. That is what China's plan is, and if it costs them, 0.1% of GDP in order to have Russia smash up the West, hey, that's awesome. I'm sure they're helping out North Korea, and and as long as the West continues to buy their goods and Europe continues to reach out that olive branch to Beijing, it will only continue. China ready to send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine. German media outlet Welt cited anonymous EU sources that China has signaled it is prepared to send peacekeeping forces to Ukraine in the event of a ceasefire. However, China is prepared to do so only if the peacekeeping forces were deployed on the basis of a mandate from the United Nations. Right. Okay. This whole thing, I don't know why I covered that. It's just total nonsense. Anyway, that's the update for you. Yep, we're looking forward to some big bombing here in Kyiv in the next couple of days. So maybe this will be my swan song video. Who knows? But as long as the West sees Russia as the USSR, not an easily toppleable fake imitation of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union's GDP was 14% of global GDP. Russia's is only 1.8 to 2% of global GDP. It is a paper tiger that can be pushed over by merely, if the U.S. were to inflict catastrophic sanctions on Russia, we would not be having this conversation. I wouldn't have to have this channel. I could find something else to do with my time. But instead, I am trying to save democracy, if you will. And you should do the same. I don't know, spread the word, tell people about it. Tell your friends. All right. Have a good day.